Delaware will host the federal gun case involving Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden, will become the first child of a sitting president to be charged with a crime upon the striking of a judge's gavel in Delaware. The younger Biden, 54, is accused by prosecutors of lying on application paperwork on his drug use when he bought a firearm in 2018. In a case that will begin on Monday with jury selection, he may be sentenced to up to 25 years in prison if found guilty of the 3 federal charges. To the accusations, Mr. Biden has entered a not guilty plea. Prosecutors are expected to go into graphic detail about Mr. Biden's crack cocaine addiction during the trial, which coincides with his father's re-election campaign. This might provide political fodder for those opposed to the president. What we know about the case is as follows. What fees are involved? In this case, Mr. Biden is being charged on 3 federal counts, 1 count of illegal gun ownership and 2 counts of making false statements. The allegations are all related to the revolver he bought in October 2018 from a gun store in Delaware and maintained for roughly 11 days. Mr. Biden said that at the time he was suffering from a full-blown addiction to crack cocaine. He is accused of lying on a federally mandated paperwork regarding his drug use when he bought the gun, which is the basis for the 2 false statement charges. Prosecutors specifically argue that he lied when he bought a Colt Cobra Special revolver, saying that he was not an unlawful user of and addicted to any stimulant narcotic drug. The 3rd count concerns his claimed drug use and handgun possession at the time of the incident. After the pistol was abandoned and found at a Greenville, Delaware grocery store, an investigation was launched, which eventually brought the detectives back to the forms. What proof does the case contain? Prosecutors must persuade jurors that Mr. Biden intentionally provided false information on the form in an effort to mislead the retailer that sold him the handgun in order for them to find him guilty. They will also need to demonstrate that Mr. Biden was a drug user or addict, and that he knew this when he obtained the pistol. Defense attorneys cannot claim that the prosecution can only obtain a guilty conviction by demonstrating that Mr. Biden was under the influence of narcotics on the day he purchased the firearm. According to a ruling made by U.S. District Judge Mariela Norica. As an alternative, the court in a pretrial proceeding accepted the prosecution's contention that proof of unlawful use had occurred recently enough to indicate that the individual was actively engaged in such conduct was sufficient. Prosecutors hinted in court documents submitted before to the commencement of the trial that they would primarily depend on intimate text messages and other correspondence exchanged during Mr. Biden's period of extreme addiction. Mr. Biden describes himself as a liar, thief, blame and user. And I'm delusional, and an addict unlike beyond and above all other addicts that you know in one such text message that has been included in court records. The testimony of witnesses such as Mr. Biden's ex-wife Kathleen Bewley and his ex-partner Hallie Biden, who is also the brother Beau's widow, is anticipated to be used by the prosecution. The 2021 book written by Mr. Biden, in which he described his experiences as a drug user who was up 24 hours a day, smoking every 15 minutes 7 days a week, will also be a subject of contention for the prosecution. All my energy revolved around smoking drugs and making arrangements to buy drugs, feeding the beast, he stated in the book. Although Mr. Biden has been silent about the trial, his attorney's legal filings indicate that they intend to highlight the strength of the evidence as well as the extent to which Mr. Biden knew about his addiction at the time of the purchase. Abby Lowell, his lead attorney, has asked the court for permission to bring in an expert witness who can speak to an addict's comprehension of their substance misuse problems. It would be difficult for someone to believe Mr. Biden was not an addict or present-tense user, especially after he had just finished an 11-day rehabilitation program and was living with a sober companion. Mr. Lowell wrote, "Renowned Laptop might have information about Mr. Biden's infamous laptop, which has been the subject of tremendous media speculation and attention from conservative news outlets. Is probably going to be one of the most conspicuous pieces of evidence at the trial." Additionally, unsubstantiated rumors that associate Mr. Biden and his father with corruption, both of which they deny, have been centered on the laptop. Attorneys for Mr. Biden have maintained that the computer was altered before it was taken by the police. According to David Weiss, the special counsel assigned to supervise the investigations against Hunter Biden, the tampering claim is a conspiracy theory with no supporting evidence. Prosecutors said in a May filing that there was significant evidence of Mr. Biden's culpability on the laptop. Can he be imprisoned if found guilty? Mr. Biden may spend up to 25 years in jail if found guilty of the 3 counts of false statements, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years. The maximum term for the other 2 counts of false statements is up to 10 years. However, actual sentences for federal offenses are usually less than the highest punishments allowed by law. In the event that Mr. Biden is found guilty, the judge will eventually decide on the punishment by taking sentencing guidelines into account, along with a number of other legal considerations. Other allegations against Hunter Biden apart from the firearm accusations in Delaware. Mr. Biden is confronted with distinct federal charges in California due to claims that he avoided a tax assessment, neglected to appropriately file and pay taxes, and submitted a false tax return. Mr. Biden entered a not guilty plea to the tax allegations as well, several months after the stunning collapse of a plea agreement that addressed both sets of accusations in the previous year.